I'm joined today by Mark Palmer from TIBCO StreamBase, and I want to talk about in-memory processing. Mark, there's been a lot of conversation here at the MarketTech 2013 event about in-memory, and there's a lot of innovation. What do you see in the in-memory space that's happening, and where are we going?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of the conversation in the panel today was about what are the use cases for in-memory computing, and I think over the last few years we've seen a big trend toward risk management, doing that more real time. Doing it in the moment as opposed to waiting for the end of the day when a report comes out, figure out what your positions are, figure out what your risk profile is, figure out which customers are being profitable and which ones aren't.
Moving away from the batch process of the 1970s and actually into the 21st century.
Exactly, and even though you've been doing in-memory technologies for a while, a lot of it is now becoming, taking advantage of very large compute capabilities of large RAM data sets in one machine, or using lots of different machines, hundreds of machines, to divide up those tasks as well, to do those kinds of use cases.
We've had a number of conversations with folks who are looking at trying to figure out or looking around the economics of sort of like CVA and massive CVA calculations in memory.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that in the marketplace now?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is one of the more, very, very commonly now, we're starting to see, okay, how do I take lots of data, divide it up, do what used to be end-of-day batch calculations in real time, and then make decisions during the day on that data. So that requires in-memory technologies.
Right. I mean, the challenge with that, though, of course, is not just the fact that you need massive compute. You also have to sort of rejigger the whole logistics machine to get all that data in real time to the actual compute.
Exactly. That was another question that came up. What are some of the best practices of integrating real-time technologies, in-memory technologies, with the back office and the data that you don't want to touch? Right. There, one of the ones that we talk about is building the concept of a real-time co-processor, where you're not moving the data from the back office into the in-memory, but you're actually just you're caching it, you're distributing it, and you're doing it in a very surgical way, so that you're not creating islands of data that are difficult to manage.
Are folks doing that today in today's marketplace? Or are they just starting it, or is this something that they need to start thinking about?
I think it's pretty early days, right? I think it's an important area probably for TABB to be covering, for sure, I think. There are some technologies that enable it, but they're also immature.
What are the pitfalls? What are the pitfalls that people have to be careful of?
Well, it's the same. One of the other discussions as we talked about was Hadoop and the use of Hadoop and open source technologies, which a lot of innovation happening there, but not to the qualities of service that Wall Street firms demand in terms of reliability, scalability, those kinds of things. So I think the challenges there are, how do you manage that? How do you make it easy to make the connection? How do you have proper management tools so that you know exactly if something goes wrong, where the problem happened? There, I think we're very, very early days in innovation.
It's funny you say that, because I've been following Hadoop now for a few years, and I find the same sort of thing. Everyone's talking about Hadoop. Everyone loves to talk about Hadoop. But actually, use cases within the community are relatively limited and few and far between. Yeah,
very few and far between on Wall Street, I think. A lot of innovation happening outside Wall Street, but not so much inside. And I think it's because of these qualities of service.
What do you think is going to need to happen to bring it inside? Because I mean, there's so much potential that can be unlocked by sort of that massive processing of Hadoop or sort of MapReduce. What's going to need to happen, do you think, that's going to bring that technology home here?
Well, I think that you start to see this the split happening, I think, between something that's resoundingly open source, which is a bunch of developers building cool, innovative stuff, and then firms, TIBCO is one of them, and there are a lot here that are sponsoring the event, taking some of those innovations and then building the kind of platforms that a big bank needs, And so I think the big shift here has to be bringing some of those technologies, the appropriate ones, the innovative ones that make sense on Wall Street, and building them into an enterprise class solution that you can go and walk into one of these big banks and say, you can run your trade flow through it. So I think that's one of the big steps that we have to start taking, which is taking that innovation and infusing it with the kind of qualities of service that
well, I think this is definitely going to be a topic that we're going to be covering closely as we start rolling out our new sort of data analytics sort of package here at TABB Group. Mark, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the show.
All right, thanks.